So welcome to a Not Just Filler podcast. We're here in St. John's, and we've got an exciting podcast regarding community involvement and protecting victims of domestic violence and sexual abuse. This is Hannah Gottschalk. She's the Executive Director of SafeCenter. Now, you may never have heard of SafeCenter, but it's in, I believe, Shiawassee in Clinton County.
Correct, both.
And I served on the board for probably 5 years and was just so proud to know that when I served on that board and when we worked together to fundraise and to get community involvement, we directly affected positively victims of domestic violence and sexual abuse. Now, there's centers like this all over the state of Michigan, and they have different names and iterations and setups, but just to know that you can do really good and really involve the community and protect these victims, it's just kind of remarkable. So, Hannah, maybe just give a little bit of your background, how you got involved, and your role now.
Sure. So, like Graham said, my name is Hannah Gottschalk. I currently serve as the Executive Director of SafeCenter, and I've been in that role since July of 2019. I actually started with the organization back in 2011, so I've been involved for close to a decade. I first worked for SafeCenter as an advocate and therapist, and then when I stepped away for a period of time, I served on the board of directors. And then the board asked me to step in as ED. And so I've been faithfully serving in that role for about 15 months now. My background is in social work. I have a master's degree in social work.
And tell me, you have a shelter, correct?
Yes, we have a shelter. Our shelter serves both residents primarily of Clinton and Shiawassee counties, and that's located on our property in Owasso.
And tell me sort of the common situation where an individual would find themselves needing to be at a shelter.
Yeah, so folks come to us who are escaping intimate partner violence, domestic violence, and that can look like a number of things. Physical violence, sexual assault, can look like emotional abuse, mental abuse, verbal abuse. And then we also serve sexual assault victims, and that can be within the context of intimate partner or non-intimate partner violence.
Okay, and this is an individual and possibly their kids too?
Correct, yes. We serve on-site women and children. We do serve men as well. Typically, men are housed off-site in a motel. Okay.
So 2020, obviously a different year. Tell me some challenges beyond the usual challenges that you have just because it's SafeCenter is a nonprofit.
Yes.
Just the common challenges of a nonprofit funding and other things, and also dealing like you are with people at sort of sometimes their worst times in their lives. Tell me some new challenges in 2020.
Yeah, so COVID-19 has been an interesting thing to navigate for us as an emergency-based agency. Our shelter has only been able to operate at 50% capacity following CDC guidelines, and so we have to adhere to all social distancing, mask wearing, cleaning protocols, health and safety regulations, all of those things. So when we're at capacity, and we have been at capacity since March, we've had to have funding to motel folks off-site who are in potentially high danger or lethal situations. So that has been a big challenge because typically we can house comfortably about 20 folks, and right now it's like 10 comfortably, occasionally putting somebody on a couch and then having to reassess. And so it's just a different way of navigating things. Also, ensuring that people are screened every day. Staff have to be screened. Clients who are living with us have to be screened. We screen folks before we do any sort of home visit for our transitional housing program. So it's just a different level of keeping people safe.
Yeah, that's really cool to see, though, that you're just doing everything you can because this is an incredibly difficult year, and you're in constant, close contact with people from all across the community.
Yes.
How many employees do you have at SafeCenter?
There's 17 of us total.
Wow. Okay, and tell me, like an individual, we would think of like a social worker, but just tell me what maybe an individual there does, is their role. I know you have different roles.
We do have different roles. So we have folks who work in our shelter and assist the residents with their needs and take care of the internal workings of the shelter, making sure food is stocked and readily available, that personal needs are on the ready, laundry's taken care of, all of those different things. And then we have advocates and therapists who are in the office. and those folks are meeting with clients on a regular basis. Right now, that looks like a lot of virtual appointments and over the phone appointments. We do some in person, again, following all those health and safety guidelines, but really just meeting with people for those sessions, and a lot of personal protection orders being filed right now too with our legal advocate.
Okay, so this is going to be a really interesting conversation, because you think of a shelter as a physical place, right? It's a building, but actually the outreach to the community is almost the most important part. So you have relationships with law enforcement, with lawyers who give legal advocacy to your clients, to hospitals, to everybody. So maybe just talk about what you've done to reach out in the community.
Yeah, so SafeCenter is very fortunate and blessed to be a part of many community coalitions and task forces throughout both counties. That includes Human Trafficking Task Force, the Building Stronger Communities Coalition, the Housing and Homeless Coalitions, child abuse networks, all kinds of different things we are involved in. We have MOUs in place with the Child Advocacy Center here in Clinton County, as well as with EVE, that's a sister agency of us that serves Lansing and Clinton County as well. We're constantly looking for ways to partner, to refer folks between agencies, get them all the resources, all the information they possibly could need to be successful and meet their goals that would help them live a violence-free life.
Yeah, because I can imagine, let's say an individual comes to you and they say, this is a very difficult time, and you can pick them up sometimes, isn't that right?
Yeah.
If an individual is at a home and having an issue, a domestic violence issue or something like that, they will come and be picked up. And imagine sort of the wonder of that we can reach out and come to you at the worst time, at a most difficult time for you, and SafeCenter can come and literally pick you up. But the instant that sort of the wheels go in motion, so then you have to call, okay, does this person need legal services? Do they need a PPO? Do we need to talk to law enforcement about an ongoing situation? So you see now how this is sort of like a all hands on deck when it comes to community organizations working with SafeCenter. Tell me a success story, something you've seen where SafeCenter was the perfect place for someone in need, and you were able to really really help that person.
Sure. So we had a woman recently, within the last year, who was in desperate need to get away from her husband. The situation had been escalating for a number of months, and it finally just got to be too much. She needed to get out. She called a number of shelters, and they were all full, and so they were referring her from one place to the other. SafeCenter happened to be the last place on the list that she contacted, and we had one room available.
Oh, wow.
And she came to see us, and within like 24 to 72 hours, depending on when they come in, they're connected immediately with an advocate. And so she met with her advocate, and she worked with her advocate for a series of months on her goals in therapy. And she recently just stopped by. She was successfully divorced from her assailant, and is now living on her own.
Oh, wow.
And has her own vehicle, things in her name that she's never had before, and she donated and gave back to SafeCenter because we did so much for her.
That's so cool.
It was awesome.
I mean, that's just something else. I will say that serving on that board and seeing those things happen, I would encourage you, if you've ever been interested in serving on a nonprofit board or helping victims of domestic violence or sexual abuse. I mean, I'm sure you guys are always looking for people to volunteer to serve on the board. Fundraising.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about fundraising? Yes. I know that'll be a big deal.
Yes. So as a nonprofit, we always have to be thinking outside of the box and ensuring that we're trying to diversify our funds and increase our funds as much as possible. SafeCenter is currently 90% funded by both federal and state grants. So 10% of our funding comes from general donation sources. We really want to work on increasing that because COVID has really hit us hard. And there's been a lot of complications with COVID, and the funding gets complicated because of that too. So one of the things that we did just recently was a telethon event. It was the first ever of its kind for SafeCenter, and we just rocked it. It was awesome. We had a goal of raising $10,000, and the community stepped up, and we actually raised just over $12,000, and that was just people calling in on the phone, donating online via our website, and stopping in person to donate as well. And so we're going to be focusing on Giving Tuesday here soon, which is Tuesday, December 1st, as well as annual giving, because we have a lot of folks who need holiday assistance. All the folks that we serve get gifts and stuff from us for Christmas, but really it's from the community. We're just the place where they get sent out. And then in April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so that's typically when we do our big annual in-person event. Again, don't know what things are going to look like. Might have to switch to another virtual format. But we're trying to be creative, think outside the box, let people know that we're here, and just ensure that we're getting the word out and that support that we need to keep going.
Yeah, so she said there's a $10,000 goal, they hit $12,000, and you say, okay, that's good, but that $2,000 may mean the roof gets fixed in a certain way, or, there's additional, a lock gets fixed, flood damage or something gets fixed because of that additional giving. So just to see that impact is an amazing thing. And I'm going to post the link below where you can donate and check out SafeCenter. So I was proud to serve on that board. Hannah does a great job. I've known you now for a bunch of years because you were just always involved. And so just to have her energy in the community, know that she's completely capable of running this and building the relationships necessary. And so we're just so proud. I'm proud to personally support SafeCenter. And I hope you do too. And Hannah, thanks so much for jumping on the Not Just Filler podcast.
Yeah.
And just know that we support you.
Thank you.
And we'll post this, of course, on Facebook.
Great.
And put the link below for fundraising too.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Okay, we'll see you later, guys. Thanks for watching the podcast.